What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Tyler behind the camera, and in front of us is the 2023 Cadillac CT4. This one happens to be in the sport trim level and with some really neat options, kind of rare options as well. So throughout this video, we're going to take a look at all of the features this vehicle has to offer, starting out on the front. We'll then make our way under the hood and discuss a couple of drivetrain options. We'll take a look at the trunk area, and then we'll get into the interior, starting off with the rear seats and making our way forward into the front seats. So yeah, some really neat options on this vehicle, especially the color combination. We have the midnight steel metallic for the exterior, which is kind of like a bluish gray color. And on the inside, we have the sangria interior, which is a dark red, sort of dark wine colored interior. So definitely really neat interior for this vehicle. And we also have this Super Cruise 2 package, which adds lots of features, and the blue package. So that adds lots of blue elements throughout the vehicle, and I will point them out in our walk around. First of all, let's check out the headlights. They are full LED for both your high and low beams. As you see, the car detected the key getting close to the vehicle, so it illuminated the exterior lights. But back to the headlights, LED for high and low beams, and then we also have LED units for the turn signals and daytime running lights. Making our way across the front bumper, we do have parking sensors and nice blacked out elements for the upper and lower grills, thanks to that sport trim level. Some pretty neat creases that go down into the grille, and take a look at the metallic work in that paint. Absolutely beautiful. We have some pretty cool 19-inch black painted wheels, and this sort of center locking style center cap that is part of the blue package, since you see it does have the blue accents. We also have blue painted brake calipers. So this is kind of a really neat and kind of bespoke vehicle, since you don't really see a lot of CT4s with the blue package. Actually, I think this is the only one I've ever seen with that package. You can see peeking on the inside, we have the heads-up display. We also have the sunroof up top and the shark fin antenna. We have black surrounding all of the windows, and if we take a look around back at the mirrors, you can see we have blind spot warning there. Smart key entry on all 4 of the door handles as well. And taking a walk around here, we have full LED tail lamps too. So daytime, the brake lights, I should say, tail lights and the turn signals are all LED. Looks very nice lit up. Back here, we have a very nice small spoiler. The reversing camera right underneath it, and right underneath that is the Cadillac symbol. We also have the CT4 badging, all-wheel drive. If we take a look over here, we have our powertrain badging as well. To finish it all off, we have a couple of nice exhaust tips down there. We will get a listen to a quick exhaust clip right after we check out the engine. Alright, so we can choose between 2 different 4-cylinder turbocharged motors on the standard CT4. Standard meaning not the V-Series vehicles, so we're just going to talk about those trim levels today. And we will reserve the other V-Series trim levels for a separate video. So, in this particular car, we have a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. Produces 237 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque. That is mated to an 8-speed automatic, and you can choose between rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Now, also in the premium luxury trim, you can choose to upgrade to a 2.7-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. That produces 310 horsepower, 350 pound-feet of torque. That one will be hooked up to a 10-speed automatic, and again, you can choose between rear-wheel or all-wheel drive, and that motor is pretty closely related to the one in the CT4 V series. Okay. You can pop the trunk by just pressing the button twice on the key fob. And there's also a button on the bottom of the trunk lid and also a button on the interior of the vehicle. Now, once we pop it open, we have a nice wide opening. As you see, the trunk lid is very large, and that means you can get some pretty large cargo back here. Pretty good amount of space back here too. Once you lift up the cargo floor, you have even more storage with your tow hook and things like that. You have cargo tie downs at the base of the trunk. And you can also fold the seats down at a 60-40 split, and you have a little bit of extra storage over here as well. To close the trunk, you can just locate the handle on the right side, and you just close it right on down. All right, so the part we've been waiting for, let's get into the interior. Take a look at that sangria color right next to the blue steel, or modern steel metallic, I should say. Wow, what a color combination this vehicle has. But on the inside now, take a look at the quality too. Very nice upper door panels, all soft to the touch, and all of this sangria colored leather is very soft. We also have some red contrast stitching, which gives it a pretty interesting color combination on the outside and inside. I can definitely tell you that. Once we get to the inside of the rear seats, we can see very nice design to the rear seats too. You have the addition of white piping on the edge of the seats as well. And you can also fold them down with the little lever right next to the headrest. As you can see, they will fold flat to help you out with getting cargo in and out of the vehicle. You also have armrests, which you could fold down. And that has two cup holders to hold your drinks. Now, this being the CT4, Cadillac's smallest sports sedan, once you get in, it is a little bit tight. I am 5'10", and I adjusted the driving position for myself up front to where it'd be comfortable. And I do still have maybe just about an inch of legroom left over. But generally, it is a little bit tight back here. I think you would have quite the issue with trying to get a third person back here. So truthfully, I think this will be just a 4-seater car. Back here, though, you do have a 12-volt power outlet and two climate vents. Over here, I have the front seat slid almost all the way forward, so you get a good idea on if you're trying to get car seats in the back here. You can definitely slide that front seat forward and have a good amount of room back here, at least. Over here, we have the grab handles and LED lights back here. And it's just a pretty nice place to be. Very nice looking headrests too, I must point that out. And next, let's jump into the front. So the front door panel is much like the rear as far as the material goes. So same nice soft touch up here with a bit of white stitching. The sangria leather with the red stitching down here. Also some perforations. Very nice door handle. You also get 2-person memory on this particular vehicle with the easy exit mode. We have the nice Bose speaker grill up front. By the way, that is a 14-speaker Bose audio system on this vehicle. Down below, we have a good amount of storage with the trunk release over there. All of our windows are 1 touch down, and then our front 2 are 1 touch up as well. We have power child locks and the rest of your powered mirror controls over there as well. Nice Cadillac sill plate, all covered up still in the factory plastic. We also have a bunch of buttons over here to the left of the dash, one for your electronic parking brake. We have all of your different heads-up display controls, as well as your gauge dimmer. This is also a nice pocket right here to put a credit card or something like that. We also have the release right over here for the telescoping steering wheel. And down here we have some pretty cool looking metal pedals and the hood release up and to the left. Wow, take a look at these seats. Very nice looking seats up front. The headrests are adjustable. We have the typical Cadillac crest on the backrest of the seat. And take a look at the attention to detail on this seat. Beautiful, kind of gradual perforations on the seat. We have the red stitching and the white piping. Just a very nice looking seat. You can also adjust the thigh supports. They go in and out with this little switch right where my hands are. And lots of seat adjustments down here too. We have the normal, you know, up and down, back and forth for the bottom and the backrest. We also have four-way lumbar, and this vehicle also has massage. So that is an awesome feature, which I will show you in just a minute. So here's the key fob for the CT4, much like other Cadillacs. We have the lock, unlock, remote start, trunk release, panic alarm, and then you also have a button on the side to slide out a physical key. And on the other side, you have the nice blue trim with the Cadillac crest. We, of course, have push button start right behind the steering wheel. And, of course, just put your foot on the brake, and it will start right up for you. Very smooth startup sequence. And as you can see, the Super Cruise lights on the steering wheel are lighting up just to make sure everything's all good. And that is a really cool system right here. You have this kind of bar right here that kind of blends into the steering wheel if it's not lit up, but that is your sort of indicator for the Super Cruise. Also, right on top of the steering column, we have this little sensor right here, which kind of tracks your eyes to make sure your eyes are still on the road while you're using Super Cruise. Since this isn't exactly a full self-driving system, it still wants to make sure that you are attentive while using that. Other than that, on the steering wheel, it is full leather wrapped with the stitching on the inside. Very nice design towards the bottom too. We also have all of your adaptive cruise control settings over here, the heated steering wheel control, as well as turning on and off your forward mitigation alert. Down here we have a couple of array of buttons here, so you have Bluetooth telephone controls, voice commands, and your Super Cruise activation button. When we across the airbag cover, we have mostly media buttons, so up and down for the skipping between different songs, and then back and forth for your volume. This scroll wheel also has to do with the digital screen up here, and we'll take a look at that in just a second. Behind the steering wheel and mounted to it are some pretty nice magnesium paddle shifters to start shifting gears in that 8-speed automatic. We also have a couple of stalks behind the steering wheel I'd like to talk about. This one for your turn signals, all of your headlight controls, and also a button at the end to turn on and off your automatic high beams. And then to the other side on the other stalk is, of course, your wipers. So, using these two back and forth and the scroll wheel buttons, we can kind of configure what we see up there in the gauge cluster. So we could probably tap any button on the steering wheel and it'll kind of pull everything up. Off to this side, we have various information that you can configure, and I'll show you that in just a second. But right now, it'll show you the time and temperature of the exterior in the climate you're in, and also the oil pressure and oil temperature. And we also have a little boost gauge right down there. Right down here we have a coolant temperature, and over here is the gas gauge. We have a nice big tachometer right up front for the sport model, and we also have our kind of configurable screen off to the right side. So again, we're going to use that scroll wheel and those two buttons there to configure what we see. So we can go back and forth just between a bunch of different menus. We can go to a touring setup for the gauge cluster, which is pretty neat, and we can also link it to the driving mode, but we'll keep it on sport for now since this is the sport trim level. Gives you a pretty cool animation right there. We can also configure a few different things like the tire pressure, also you know, just go through your different options and all of that good stuff. We have all of the maintenance. We have the phone screen, navigation, and audio will pop up once you connect your phone and set a destination on the navigation. We have a driver's assistance view, which is pretty cool. And we also have our trip computers, fuel economy screens, and whatnot. And then we also have our info tiles. So that is these right over here. So you can actually kind of configure what you see in those little tiles there. As you can see, lots of different things that you could choose. But those four are currently the ones we have up there. Now we do have the heads-up display up there, which is pretty neat. As you can see, right over there in the trees, I'm not too sure if you can see it on camera, but it is showing up with the actual miles per hour, the speedometer, and a tachometer as well. Very nice upper dash, all soft to the touch with some nice stitching that goes across. And that brings me down to our infotainment screen. We will continue into demo mode here with this brand new car. So we want to make sure our customer gets acquainted to the vehicle in demo mode still. We'll swipe over. As you can see, we have up top what the climate control is doing. Right over here, we have what the radio and the navigation is doing. Pretty neat. And then some shortcuts at the bottom and some various other information as the exterior temperature and time. Over here, we can get into the audio screen. As you can see, what's playing is right up front. We have all of our sources over here and then skip between different stations, as you see there. And then our presets will be up top. We have the navigation screen over here. Very nice bright map, and then you can enter in your destination up top. We can activate our Wi-Fi, also configure different users for the vehicle if you have different users. We have some settings too that we can go through quickly. We have our different apps. Turn on the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and then our vehicle settings. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto have their own little icons on the screen here. We have the OnStar services through the screen as well, and you can also access your climate controls through the touchscreen as well. We can pull up your cameras at any time, so we have a kind of a 360-degree view camera system on this vehicle. This right now is our front camera. We can also view the rear camera, kind of toggle on and off your guidance lanes. We can also zoom in if you'd like. We can also get the front and rear wheels, and then kind of a top-down view over here, which is pretty cool. You can toggle that on and off if you'd like as well. So that is pretty cool. Going back to home, we have our My Cadillac app, and then we also have the video recorder icon. So this actually has the option to kind of use the camera systems around the vehicle to record and save on an SD card what is actually happening around the vehicle. So kind of like a dash cam, but a little bit more advanced, so that's pretty neat. We have a volume knob and a tune knob there as well, next to a physical home button. We have a couple of air vents nicely integrated into the dash, and all physical climate controls are here, so you can either choose to use the physical controls or up here with the climate menu in there. Either way, we have the same controls. You can turn it on and off right over here. It is an automatic function. We can also pick where you want the air to come out with these three buttons. Of course, you can toggle more than once at a time. We have our temperatures to either side of the fan speed. We have our AC settings over here, syncing the climate control, and our defrosters right over there. Get this shifter out of the way so that we can see the controls below the climate. We have the heated seats as well as the cooled seats controller. We can turn on and off the parking sensors if you'd like. We also have a button there for our hazards. We can also toggle on and off your lane keeping assist, and then pull up our 360 camera. And then over here we have the passenger seat controls. Right below there we have the wireless charging pad, and I almost forgot to show you guys the massaging function on the screen here. So basically, you just press one of the buttons down on the seat, and extra controls pop up, and then you can kind of use the lumbar controls to switch whatever you see on the screen. So you can move back and forth your back bolsters. You can also go up to adjust your lumbar, and up to the massage function. So that is pretty cool. You can kind of adjust the intensity and whatnot. So that is a pretty cool function, if you ask me, especially at a car in this price point and in this class. I think not too many cars in this class have massaging seats, so that's definitely a plus. Down here we have the gear selector for that 8-speed automatic. We can pull it down into reverse, and at what point the reversing camera pops up. We also have neutral and drive, and then if you switch it down one more, we can put it into manual mode, and that is when you can start shifting with the gear shifters, the paddle shifters I should say. It does not allow you to shift down at the shifter, but at least you do get a manual mode. Down here we have a pretty cool design with some stitching leading into a pretty neat trim around the cup holders. It's actually textured too, so that's pretty cool. A couple of controls down here to turn on and off our auto start stop, as well as the brake hold feature and the traction control. A couple of different driving modes that are pretty neat in this vehicle too. So we have the My mode, which is a pretty much an adjustable mode. So you can adjust the steering, brake feel, and engine sound, which is awesome. And you can also go into a snow ice mode, sport mode, and a touring mode, which is kind of your everyday kind of mode, the touring mode. So we will switch between the sport and I think tour mode on the test drive, so you get a good idea of what each mode does. Moving on to the center console, we can lift it up with the side lift button. You also have this kind of pretty cool tray right over here. You can almost use it as a garbage pail if you'd like. You can slide that in and out and put whatever you like in there. A couple of connections in here too. So we have the SD card reader in there for the video recorder. We have the USB-C, USB Type A, and a 12-volt power outlet, and it's all nice and felt lined in there. On the passenger side, we have a lockable glove box, all felt lined in there as well, and some pretty cool trim that goes on towards the passenger's air vent. We have a nice black cloth headliner with a decently sized sunroof, which we can tilt and slide open with these two buttons right here. We have our garage door home links over here with 3 different programmable settings. We also have some nice tap lights in LED fashion and kind of all your lighting and door controls up here. And we also have our OnStar and SOS controls towards the front of the stack too. We have a nice auto dimming frameless rear view mirror. And of course we can't forget our sun visors. Once we pull those down, we have some LED lights and a mirror, which is pretty cool. So that pretty much does it for all the features on this CT4 Sport. Definitely a very interesting color combination and interesting amount of options on this vehicle too. Let's get it out on the road and see how it drives. All right, let's get this CT4 Sport out on the road. So, a little overview of our test drive. So, we're going to take a round into some curvy roads, we'll say. You know, they're not exactly clean roads, since we are just rounding out the winter season up here. But we will get a good feel for the handling that this CT4 has. Now, this first road we're on is going to be really bumpy. So, we'll definitely get a good feel of the suspension first. Right off the bat, it is definitely a solid suspension setup. You know, it's not tuned towards comfort. I wouldn't say that. Since we do have the sport trim level, it is pretty solid. Definitely very compliant, but gives you that feeling that it's just a pretty solid ride. We will get an acceleration test as well throughout the test drive. Okay, and away we go again. So yes, like I was saying, we will get an acceleration test on the test drive. We'll kind of leave it in automatic mode for that, because it's also a good test for it to see how the transmission reacts to the throttle input. And also we'll see how fast we can get up to speed with this 2.0T. Now this particular one does have all-wheel drive, so I don't think we will have any issues with getting grip. But yeah, it should be a pretty fun test drive. I've actually never driven a CT4 before, so it should be fun for both of us. Now, if you guys were wondering why the tachometer doesn't go up to the normal sort of red line that it should, this vehicle is brand new. So they don't want you revving the motor out a lot. So, you know, in short bursts of acceleration, like our test, will be fine. But, you know, they don't want you going up on the highway and just beating the car before its break-in period. So that is why the red line is reduced to probably like 4,200 RPM, if I were to guess. Now this ride really does stand out to me. It is very, I should say, firm but solid. Pretty interesting. Even right off the bat, the steering feels pretty good. The steering wheel feels nice in your hand, and the steering feel is pretty nice. Let's see if we can put it into the touring mode. Yeah, and it's a nice quiet ride too. One thing that also grabs my attention about the driving experience on this CT4 is the bite of the brakes. You really don't have to get into the brakes much to get them to start biting down on the brake rotor. It is a nice braking feel coming from the CT4. Alright, so right about here I think would be a pretty good spot to test out the acceleration. We're just gonna kind of floor it from 25 and see what happens. We have a nice straight section right here. So here we go. Yeah, pretty good amount of power from the 2.0T. You know, obviously we didn't get to rev it out all the way to red line. I think it shifted right about 5,000 RPM. But the transmission did a very nice job of changing up the gears for us. And that 2-liter 4-cylinder actually sounds pretty good. It's definitely a really torquey engine. And lots of power low down in the RPM range. Now, I do wish we had this car for a little bit longer and we could put a little bit more miles on it, but since we want to, you know, be respectful to the new owner of this vehicle, it is brand new. It's only got 22 miles on it, and we're not going to put a lot of miles on it. I wish we could try out the GM Super Cruise, but unfortunately this video is going to be a little bit too short to do that. So we'll just focus on the driving experience of the CT4. But yeah, very impressive low down power. You can tell this is more of a torque engine rather than a horsepower engine. And that 4-cylinder sounds really good too. That is a pretty impressive sound. And there must be some sort of noise induction coming into the interior, probably on the intake side of the engine. That 8-speed automatic does react pretty fast. I'm really excited to test out the 2.7-liter turbo that you can get in this car. You know, this being the sort of basic engine that you can get in a CT4, it has plenty of power. And I can only imagine what the upgraded engine from here does. Nice turning circle too. Some of those of you who live in the city, in and around, or like to visit the city, that is a good feat as well. So pretty much on this road we have a nice straight section in which we could test out the sort of road noise and wind noise, things like that, and stability up at the higher speeds. That is if this Camry in front of us goes a bit faster. But yeah, right up about 45 miles an hour. It is very impressively smooth when you have a nice smooth road like this. And it is also very quiet, a very good amount of sound deadening in this car. It's actually a pretty windy day outside, and you know, you barely hear gusts of winds. With that being said, there is a little bit of tire noise, just because we do have some pretty small sidewalls on those tires, so there's not a whole lot of area between that tire and the road. That is part of what gives it such a solid ride as well. So yeah, pretty impressive car, I have to say. For this being the sort of baby Cadillac, this is a pretty nice driving car. Kind of curious. Let's put it into manual mode and see how the paddle shifters react. Okay, so I have it in third gear, and we'll shift to 4,000 RPM. Yeah, so they do react pretty quickly, and that turbo does spool pretty quick as well, too. So if you're in manual mode, you're locked in a gear, you smash that accelerator, and the turbo spools up nice and fast. I have to say too, the steering ratio is pretty quick. Meaning you don't have to turn the steering wheel all that much to get it to go around a corner. It does feel like a pretty balanced car around the corners. That's pretty impressive. You can definitely tell that this car has a rear-wheel drive bias. You could definitely tell that from opening the hood and seeing the engine going this way. So yeah, pretty impressive going around the corners. This thing can be pretty fun to drive, and also a pretty comfortable, you know, daily cruiser as well when you need it to be. Alrighty, so just kind of getting back into our filming location. What are my wrap-up thoughts of this CT4? I personally think this car is awesome. You know, I've always been a fan of kind of the I guess you could say weird or differently optioned vehicles. Like, when is the next time you're going to see a car with this color combination? You know, this is kind of a rare car as it is, but to see another one in this colors, you're just not going to see it again. So with the combination of performance driving and comfort driving too, this car is a pretty nice all-rounder as well. You know, this car has a sticker price of just about $59,000 to $60,000 as equipped, which is quite a bit for a vehicle in this class. But just take a look at how much technology you're getting. You know, you're getting a 360 camera, you're getting Super Cruise, which is a class exclusive, as well as you know, various other things. But to thank you all for watching, thank you very much for watching, I should say, and also I hope you stay with us here at Ty Drives for more videos just like this one.